Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to look at a new toy of mine, which is the Ghost synthesizer. I think it was released recently. I saw one or two YouTube videos, had the impression that I have to try it out, and it took me about 30 seconds, or well, maybe a bit more, maybe like 2 minutes, to figure out that I want to have it because it just sounds fantastic. It is very intuitive. Lets me work fast. It's kind of a blend between Native Instruments FM8 in terms of the matrix and Serum in terms of oscillator, which, yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So let's look at it real quick. I mean, it's not a tutorial. It's more me just like playing with it, but just a little breakdown at the beginning so that you understand the basics. So this is an FM matrix, might look a little bit confusing, but it's actually quite simple. So I mean, A, B, C, D, E, and F are oscillators, like, yeah, we know them from Serum or Vital. I mean, in Serum, they're also called oscillator A and B, for example. This here is just the output volume. This is, yeah, the level knob on Serum. And then here we can... Yeah, in Serum, we can, for example, we can select that we want FM from oscillator B. Well, here you just go to the intersection, kind of this perpendicular intersection, and you drag up, and now you automatically increase, or, you know, not automatically, you just increase the amount oscillator A is FM'd by oscillator B. And that's just a very quick way of doing it within this matrix. And yeah, we can go further. We can modulate oscillator A with B, then B with C, and that with D and E, and so forth. And we can come up with all sorts of different routings because it does not go only one way. It also goes the other way. I mean, oscillator B can also FM oscillator B while oscillator B is FMing oscillator A, while oscillator A is also FMing itself through feedback. So I don't know how this will sound right now. Let me set up a scale. I want to go to F. Let's go to F minor, nothing special. Yeah, and these are just sine waves interacting with each other and just two oscillators. Yeah, when you have feedback loops, you have to be careful. As soon as you go above a certain threshold, it starts sounding noisy. But yeah, that might well also be the intention, right? Yeah, I usually like, if I do that with feedback, to go to a point where you can just hear a little bit of this feedback, noise, fizzling, sizzling, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, we have all the possibilities, like, you know, yeah, maybe switch to oscillator B and change its ratio. Look at this nice little oscilloscope here. So, just as a little introduction, this is what you can do. That's what the matrix does. Now, let's play a little bit with the oscillators, because although they are similar to what Serum and Vital can do, they're a tiny bit different. And yeah, they also kind of have a different sound, especially in combination with filter and distortion. So yeah, attack to 0 here. And let's go to oscillator A. And yeah, as you might know from other synth, we have different options here, like bend and asymmetric, sync, window. The interesting thing here is that, bending does this, and either stretches it out from the middle or bends it together from the outside. And we can, of course, also cycle through the wave or the tables within the wavetables. If we activate morph, it behaves more like a traditional wavetable synthesizer, or the way we know it from Serum. That's the default. Now, the cool thing is, well, we can start, let's go to start bending. And once we're happy with the setting, we can go to asymmetric. And as you can see, the setting is preserved. It does not get reset. So we cannot, we're not limited to use just one. We can just, these settings accumulate. So we can just, add now some asymmetry and then go to sync and add some sync. And then window the entire thing, which means making sure that at the beginning and the end of the cycle, the oscillator drops back to 0 to have a softer transition. Yeah, and although you have a little bit less options here than, for example, in Serum, the fact that you can combine the different modes is interesting. And also we have a second one, like we have in Vital. We have low pass, high pass, shift, and stretch. And I think stretch is the one that I find most intriguing. So let's kind of, let's init the patch here. So let's go to morph and maybe here or here. Then select stretch here. I do not exactly know what stretch does, but I really like the way it sounds, especially when you accumulate it or combine it with bending. Did I say binding? I mean bending. Yeah, and this is a very simple waveform. I mean, this is... Okay, let's just stick with this one oscillator for now. So what we can do, for example, we have random modulators here. So we can just drag and drop them like we know it from other synths. Make it toggle polarity, makes it bipolar or unipolar when it is already bipolar. Okay, let's change this to retrigger and set the rate to 0. And I also want to add an arpeggiator so that we can hear something. And let's just throw in a few notes. Set the speed to this maybe. Hit play. So don't pay too much attention to the display here. As far as I can tell, this is a bit buggy. It does its job. It's just not perfectly represented visually. For example, when I turn off sample and hold and retrig, you will see an animation here, which is correct. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It sounds correct. It's just the animation which is not yet there. And obviously, this might also be a parameter which we would like to modulate. Also here, rate to 0 and sample and hold. Yeah, and it sounds already very interesting. And without any FM, simple wavetable, simple waveform, no FM, and we can already have a lot of fun. But of course, it doesn't end there, because we have 16-fold unison if we want to. Well, let's go for 2 now. That doesn't do anything yet because it's on retrigger, which means, yeah, both waveforms are just layered on top of each other, so they just amplify it themselves or each other. So when I turn off retrig, it becomes a lot more interesting. Yeah, I'm probably a little bit loud here. Let me reduce the volume just to avoid clipping at the output. So now what's also cool is that each of these oscillators, we don't have filter and distortion for all the oscillator, we have it per oscillator. So I can just turn on a filter for oscillator A. And I think these these filters sound really great. Now, for this kind of sound, I would probably go for a notch, not for a notch, for bandpass. Reduce the resonance a little bit. And then use another random. Bipolar. It's maybe a little bit too much. Sample and hold, rate to 0. Yeah, one of the criticisms I have is that we only have 3 randomizers, which is on the lower end, especially if you want to have some psychedelic sounds. Let's give it full attack. Yeah, envelopes. I think we have 6 LFOs as well. They will show up as soon as you kind of used up the last one. See, now you get another one. Back to the envelope. With the randoms, that doesn't happen. We have, one way to increase this random a little bit by, for example, using the velocity and then randomizing the velocity input via the arpeggiator, by the way, per example. That's a little criticism that I have. I just want more randomizers. So next, after the filter, we also have a distortion, which sounds really nice. Yeah, and this sound is still completely dry. Let's add some delay. Yeah, and also some of the other filter modes are interesting. I mean, low pass, high pass are common. Phaser, yeah, we know them from Serum, but I think these filters also sound really great. Yeah, and as I said, oscillator B has the same C, D, E, and F as well. So yeah, it's interesting to filter a signal before it actually goes into another oscillator to FM that. Let's see what happens if we FM oscillator A just a tiny bit. I'm usually quite careful if I FM a complex waveform, especially a complex waveform. With a complex waveform, it can get noisy quite quickly, but a little bit might just add what it needs. Maybe pitch that one an octave down. Okay, let's turn on legato, make this unit or monophonic, and add some portamento. I think it just has a very nice sound, this synthesizer. And yeah, that's just one oscillator with a tiny bit of FM. We can now layer it with whatever we like. Maybe let's take oscillator C and add some unison to it. Go to sawtooth, increase the voicing. Yeah, turn up the volume. Yeah, and we have quite a ridiculous amount of different distortion algorithms. And yeah, just let's go to oscillator A. The spaghetti sounds really interesting on hardcore FM sounds or complex waveforms. Just listen. Yeah, it just squeezes everything out of it without making the sound too noisy and too kind of just indistinguishable. Yeah, we can get really dirty really quick. And yeah, now we're using 3 oscillators. We have 3 others which we don't use yet. And so let's increase the attack phase a little bit to give it a bit more bite. What I usually do is just I reduce the sustain level to 0, then, you know, to get a feeling for the attack phase. Kind of the time I want to be amplified a little bit or pronounced, and then yeah, move back to sustain to a desirable level. Okay, but now, well, we just have looked at the oscillator section. Here we have a very comprehensive effect section with, you know, compressor, multiband compressor, which should look familiar. Looks like Ableton's multiband compressor, which is legendary. We have chorus and flanger and phaser, which all sound excellent, in my opinion. So yeah, let's look at the phaser real quick. Yeah, it just sounds amazing. Spread here. Yeah, what I also like is that we can reduce the rate to 0 or the modulation depth to 0, because that allows us to control the phaser manually from the outside. For example, a macro, right? We can then let's see. I think this, yeah, phaser frequency is exposed as parameter, but yeah, maybe you want to map it to macro. Amazing. Or we could map it to an LFO, and the LFOs are also quite interesting. Yeah, they're pretty much or similar to what Serum has. They're just typical MSEC envelopes. You can join whatever you want, and they all go into audio rate, which is excellent. And not only into audio rate, you can turn them into oscillators de facto. So I just enable keyboard tracking with or without retriggering. And the default is -48 semitones. We can just increase that to 0. And now what's also cool is that phaser and flanger and yeah, all these effects, not sure if all of them, but phaser, flanger, chorus allow you to modulate them at audio rate, which not all of them do. For example, phaser plus in Bitwig integrate, if you try to modulate it too fast, it has kind of a lag or something on it that doesn't allow that. Here you can. So it sounds interesting. So let's drag this modulator onto target, make it bipolar, and now, yeah, listen to it. Yeah, it's not very often that you can do something like that with a phaser, right? So it's really cool. So let's delete that. The distortion is also a bit more flexible here because, as you can see, it allows asymmetric distortion, which means whatever is here concerns the positive part of the signal, and here we have the negative part. And when we unlink them, I can, for example, say, yeah, we want to spaghettify it on the negative end and use soft clip on the positive. Yeah, it's pretty intense. But now, of course, with the distortion, we add a lot of overtones. So we might add another filter. And by the way, when I'm already talking about it, I was always wondering, like in synths, in other synths, you have a number of effects that you can insert, but each effect can only be inserted once. And I always ask myself, why is this? Because, you know, it's de facto kind of a plugin system. So why not let me insert a filter twice or a delay twice and then let it up to my CPU whether it can handle it? And well, here you can add as many filters in series as you want, right? But let's delete them. So now we added a distortion and a filter again. Yeah, and then probably you begin to understand how interesting this is for sound design. We have now oscillator C, which is the unison sound, which peaks here around 700 Hertz or whatever we want it to. We have oscillator A, which has a bandpass filter, which is randomized with a randomizer. And then we send this into distortion, and after distortion, we add another filter. So yeah. Yeah, okay, let's check out how filter FM sounds. As far as I know, we cannot use oscillators as source, but we can use LFOs, which, as we already determined, are audio rate capable. So let's figure that out. Oh yeah, I like it a lot. So what else can we do? I mean, yeah, the possibilities are quite extensive. As far as I know, the reverb sounds also quite good. Then here we have the modulation matrix. We know from Serum and Vital, pretty similar. What is missing here is, for example, the via modulation that we can, as far as I know. So we can have a modulator and a modulator target, but we cannot take another parameter to control the intensity. Or let me double check. Let's say we have LFO4, and LFO4 modulates oscillator A semitones. We can clearly hear something. Yeah, let's go to LFO4 and reduce the rate and reach. Okay, maybe we can now say, hey, we want to take a macro 1 and macro 1. Can we kind of assign that one to this? Oh yeah, we can. And say full extent and bipolar. Now let's see what that does. So, okay, that works. And if we can also find it as a target here, then it's full-fledged. Let me check. This would be kind of something like modulation slot 6. Do we have modulation slots here? No, we don't. So it is maybe somewhat limited, or, well, yeah, okay. I can just directly assign it. It's not there in the drop-down. And interestingly, it also doesn't show up in the matrix. Ah, okay. It shows up down here for some reason. But yeah, then, you know, everything is possible. Not that this modulation makes a lot of sense now, but oscillator 4 modulates oscillator A pitch, and oscillator and LFO 5 controls the intensity. Yeah, cool. So yeah, a lot of stuff to experiment here. Back to the oscillators. Now let's for a sec initialize that real quick. Another cool thing you can do, I mean, we do not have a full-fledged editor, wavetable editor, but we can kind of use the LFOs to do that to some extent. For example, let's just draw in a waveform here. And then we can just say set shape on oscillator A. And now this becomes the oscillator shape. And now start stretching and bending it. Yeah, and we're back in the game. Now, of course, we can continue to manipulate the waveform here. And then instead of set shape, we can say add frame. And now if we can switch between the two waveforms, we cannot really recognize them. So we can switch between the two waveforms. And of course, if we enable morphing, we can also morph between them. And well, you can of course continue to random shape, add, yeah, we can continue to add shapes to the oscillator, which is quite cool. Now, in addition to that, you can also import your own wavetables. And if you're like me, you might already have a lot. I mean, you can import all of Serum's wavetables, Vital, I didn't try Vital, but Serum has, you can import all the Serum wavetables. Of course, we have a lot of interesting wavetables here as well already. And here you can use all of them and then do with them whatever you want. Okay, if you liked it, then give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you next time, guys.